I did something really stupid the other day. I was looking for a certain plant that I'd never collected before, and I went to a place where I knew it was supposed to be growing. I found the plant, or at least I thought I'd found it, and I tried a tiny amount of the leaves, and that's something that you're never supposed to do with a plant unless you're 100% sure of its identity. But anyway, I took 2 or 3 leaves with me. I went home and identified the plant, and I was horrified to find out that it was not the plant that I'd been looking for, but it was one of the very few dangerous and really poisonous plants we have here in Germany. But I didn't know just at which doses it could be dangerous to me. So I started looking online, and just by reading about it I already felt sick. Though nothing serious happened, I'm okay as you can see, and I'd really just eaten a tiny amount, so the plant wasn't acutely poisonous to me. But it's really not a plant that you're supposed to eat under any circumstances. I know that you're supposed to lead by example, because that's one of the foraging rules, that you should never eat a plant that you cannot safely identify. But maybe you can learn from my mistakes and please don't follow my example. Now I'm going to show you this poisonous plant as well as 2 other edible and medicinal plants that grow at this time of the year. So here it is. This is Tansy Ragwort, a highly toxic plant that contains alkaloids which damage the liver and DNA. So please don't ever eat from this plant. If you are unsure about a certain plant species, then rather don't take it and don't eat it. So now let's move on to some friendlier plants. This is common juniper. You can identify it by its berries because they smell like gin. Juniper berries are actually used to make gin, and you can also recognize common juniper by this white line on the upper side of the needles. Juniper berries are a common spice used for meat. They have several medicinal properties. So the berries are antiviral, antiseptic. They contain essential oils that help reduce inflammation, and they are an excellent remedy for urinary tract infections. Studies also found it to promote heart health, and they are rich in antioxidants and vitamin C. The way to use it is you can either eat them raw, you can use them in cooking, or you can make tea with the berries. This is ground ivy. Ground ivy is high in iron, potassium and vitamin C. It also has some medicinal properties. It acts as an antiseptic and can be used to treat colds. And you can eat ground ivy raw, in salads, you can cook it like spinach, you can add it to soups. In spring, ground ivy will have purple flowers, which make a nice and colorful addition to all kinds of meals. And finally, you can use ground ivy to make tea. Another really useful thing you can do with this knowledge about wild plants in your area is that plants can tell you about the conditions in which you live. They can tell you something about your environment. Because plants have preferences. Some plants like it wet, some plants like it dry, some plants prefer alkaline soil and some like it acidic. Some plants need many nutrients and some don't. And by knowing which plants grow in your area and by knowing about their preferences, you can conclude what kind of soil you have, what kind of conditions you have in your area. That's especially useful if you have a garden, because by knowing the plants in your garden, especially the weeds that occur there naturally, you can choose the right plants and plants that will grow well in your area, that are well adapted to your soil and your garden.